It is very important, obviously, to think holistically in terms of how do we get information to a centralized point to make certain that people are paid accurately, that we have the right information, especially when there are disciplinary processes that need to be put into place, that people are paid on time, that we have the right cost associated when it comes to uh, working out profitability with a particular client, because a large part of working out profitability is the cost of our employment. And it is a very granular thing at the end of the day. And that's why it is important to have, the right systems in place that can speak to how we manage our pretty large cost of employment. So it is, how do we get information? Do we have the right tools in place? So when it comes to things like onboarding, you know, we may have it that a depot that is situated, hundreds of kilometers away from central head office is the one that onboards the employee. But how do we get that onboarded employee information into the centralized system, which we use, which is Sage 300 people? And it's important to have a holistic view as to how do we go about getting that information, not just the employee information, but the time, if incentives, etc., into the centralized system so that people are paid accurately. We also need to make certain that we have the right tools when we're dealing with, labor unions, for example, because they are that kind of influence that comes into play, that we are paying over the right union deductions, that there is a heavy reliance on making certain that the employees that we employ, speaks to the demand that has been put in place, or the regulations that have been put in place from a sectoral perspective as well. So when you approach payroll and HR, you can't just go in based on the fact that I need to pay people, because there's just so much more to it. It's important, obviously, to have the right systems, but also as well to have the right processes. And in times, especially when it comes to bringing in new systems into an organization, it is good to test it first. Do a pilot site, go in, see how this particular works before we roll it out to the rest of the business. Instead of going a slap bang, this is the new system, this is what we're going to do, here we go, which may result in people putting their tools down. And trust me, when it comes to especially blue collar workers, it is important to make certain that you are very subtle with the changes that you make, because change, though it may be inevitable, for all of us, some people are far more resistant to change, and it's important to be aware of that. And that's why, partnering with change management teams to bring forward, if you don't know how to do that, to go about and make sure that you get the right messaging across, that when it comes to people's pay, it affects everyone in your organization. Whereas every other system tends to, affect a portion of your, or part of your organization. When it comes to payroll, it affects everyone. So you have to be mindful of that when you're rolling out this, especially in logistics, because with logistics, there tends to, in most cases, have a decentralized approach in terms of the way the business is structured. And it's very, very important to think of those, rather than think the same way as a centralized or one office business would approach rolling out a new system.